Welcome to episode 3 of my mini business startup series, the Creative SheCEO, How to Launch a Creative Business. I hope you're enjoying the episodes so far and finding them useful. I've tried to cram as many practical things in there that you can use to help move your business forward. And I just hope that, I'm hitting the spot and it's making you feel inspired and motivated and ready to do this. So today's episode is all about online sales platforms. It's called Picking Your Platform. So we're looking at, where you can actually sell your product or service. So we're going to be talking about online marketplaces, such as, the big players like Etsy, not on the high street, as well as e-commerce stores on your own website, and also looking at the pros and cons of each. If you're a service-based business, let's say, you could be a reflexologist, this will still be applicable to you as you might not be selling a physical product, but you're still going to need a platform to sell your services on. So we're going to be talking about things like the fees associated with online sales platforms. I'll be giving you some advice on creating engaging and compelling product listings and service descriptions, really getting people's attention, how to sell them. We're going to be chatting a little bit about pricing in relation to fees. I know we covered pricing in the last episode, but this one's going to touch on how to price your work if you don't have third-party fees to pay as well, and how to sort of absorb those fees so that you don't lose out. I'm also going to be talking about the importance of customer feedback in relation to the success of your sales platform, because getting people's opinions and reviews on there is crucial to being successful on these platforms, because so many people are on there and the shops and the sellers that have reviews, and obviously good reviews, are the ones that stand out above the rest. And the more reviews you get, the more visibility you have as well on those platforms. So we're going to be talking about that, how to build positive customer relationships, just give them the best consumer experience so that you're encouraging them to review your services online. And finally, I'm going to be dispelling a few myths around online marketplaces. Sometimes can scare you off, ever even trying them, because I know that a lot of people feel afraid of putting their work on there and obviously having to pay fees, and it's just a scary thing, isn't it? I know there's a lot of competition on there. So I'm going to be looking at that and hopefully putting your fears at ease a little bit, and briefly touching on some of the sophisticated tools that are available on these platforms as well, just to help you increase your chances of being seen and getting sales, because they do have a lot of advantages to selling on these marketplaces. They obviously have marketing tools that we don't, or we haven't got on our own websites, and they're not within our sort of affordability or reach. So we can actually utilise these to get seen, which, is why they do charge what they charge. But we'll talk about all that. Don't forget, there's a lot of additional content on this topic also available in my accompanying online course, the Creative SheCEO workbook. So it's a downloadable workbook full of information and exercises, checklists, templates, tools, everything that you need on every aspect of these podcast episodes from this little mini series that I've got going on. I've got some great practical exercises in it actually to go with this topic, which is aimed at helping you identify the right sales platform for your product or your business, because it can be hard navigating the waters of them. I know there's so many out there. So there's some exercises in there to try and help you really sort of drill down into which one might be suitable for you, if any, of course. And there's also some fabulous templates to help you create the perfect product listing or description, because I know that can be difficult too. So again, we're going to touch on that in this episode, but the workbook itself will have some real life working examples using some of my product descriptions that are my best sellers that come up on Google that people find because of the way that they're written. So I give away all those secrets in my workbook. If you're interested in purchasing it, it's £99 and you can find it. The link I've put in the show notes to this episode, or you can visit herhandmadehustle.co.uk and it's under the shop section of the website. And again, like I say, you'll just get loads more information, advice, resources to use, all of which have worked for me to get my businesses off the ground and just keep it going strong. So hopefully it will help you too. That was my aim. Okay, so without any further ado, let's get started on episode 3, which is picking your platform. So there are lots of ways to sell online. And I'm obviously not going to be able to talk about them all in today's episode. So I decided probably the best way to do this, so that it doesn't get too confusing, is just to be suggesting a few that I know have worked for me, focusing mainly on the big players, because I know there are a lot of smaller online marketplaces out there now that are offering their services, especially like in the handmade market, to people. And honestly, I haven't tried the smaller ones. I don't know what they're like. There was one that I actually did sign up to last year. I gave it about 3 months. I hadn't made one sale, and that was probably enough for me to say it's not going to work, because I know that my things do sell. But I just thought maybe I'll try another avenue to see if I can bring in a third stream of income. Anyway, it didn't happen. It didn't work. So I took my stuff off there. And I found it quite time consuming as well, having 3 running. So I suggest really it's probably better, if you're considering it, to look at maybe 1 or 2 of the main big popular ones that people find. I know for me that's Etsy and Not on the High Street. It's not for everybody, but they're the ones that have worked for me. So we're going to be looking at those. And also we're going to be looking at having your own sales platform, like your own website to sell from. Because obviously I also have one of those, a couple of those, and you might prefer to do that than go on an online marketplace. So we're going to be looking at sort of the advantages and disadvantages of each. I'll cover the basics to consider when trying to find the best platform for your product or service. And then you can use this information and you can apply it to any that you're looking at, to try and figure out which one is right for you. So I'm going to start by saying that I'm in no way affiliated with any of the platforms that I mentioned. They're not paying me, unfortunately, to talk or promote them. I'm just giving you my God's honest opinion, really, based on my experience during the years that I've been with them, which is getting on for 14 years now. So I wanted to begin with something that I hear a lot with the small business owners when I talk to them in regards to selling on platforms like Etsy. And, I'll have a conversation with somebody and I'll just say, oh, okay, where have you got your stuff? Where are you selling it? And they'll say, oh, well, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram. And I say, oh, are you on Etsy at all? Or, any of the others. And the reply I generally get is, oh, God, no, I don't do Etsy or wherever. The fees are just too high and it's just not worth it for me. And then they just shut me down on the conversation and that's the end of that. So I always reply to them, with an honest response. And I'll just say, okay, I do understand your concerns. And yes, you're right. They do have fees and they're obviously a lot higher than we would like. But would you prefer to get 10% of something? Actually, you're left with way more than 10%. Well, that's my example. Or 100% of nothing. Because the truth is, these platforms, they do get your work out there and they do get it seen if you do it right. So we've got more to come on this later on. But those fees that they charge, and they're all varying depending on which one that you go on, but they're not that different to each other. But those fees that they charge, they are your marketing costs. And that's how you have to see them. So what you are paying for that platform to market your work, to get it found on Google. When someone types in what they're looking for and it matches your product description. So I've been with Etsy now for, say, 14 years. I think I've been Not on the High Street for 10 years. And honestly, I would not have a business without them. As much as there are times and they drive me insane, and I've said to my friends and colleagues and family numerous times, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm coming off them. They're driving me mad. The customers are a nightmare. Too many policies, too much red tape. I can't do it. But then I realised that, they're paying the bills and the orders that I'm getting in from them, I could never get those from my own website. And so I've been doing this a long time and I still can't compete with them. And I would say it's probably where at least 80% of my customers come through and it makes up the same amount of my earnings. So yes, it hurts when, it's year end and I'm doing my accounts and I see what I've paid them in fees. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that is ridiculous. If only that was in my pocket. I mean, one year, just to put it into perspective, it was a really good year to be fair, but I nearly fainted and I saw that I'd paid Not on the High Street nearly £10,000 in fees. £10,000 that, could have been in my pocket. So annoying. But you don't notice that because it's day to day, it gets taken off at the point of sale. So they only actually deposit you the money that you are due, and their fee's already been paid at this point. It's been taken off. So it's only once a year when you do your books that you faint and you see actually how much you've paid in fees. But, it does go down as a business expense, so it's tax deductible, and that's often to blow just a little bit, but it's still really annoying. However, obviously the amount of products I have sold to actually owe them that in fees completely, tips the balance and makes it worth it for me. So yes, the fees can sting. That is not a lie. But there are ways around it, and you have to accommodate them. So for me, I tend to put my prices up a little bit on these platforms to absorb some of the costs. Obviously I don't want my customers to be punished for the fees that these platforms are charging. But the truth is, if that customer came direct to you in the first place, then they would get a better price because there's no middleman involved that you have to pay as well. And that goes for anything really, doesn't it? That, it's a lot cheaper if you haven't got a middleman involved. And sometimes you're lucky because that customer will actually find you on one of those large platforms, and then they'll Google you to find your own website and then the cheaper prices. Or they'll find you on Facebook or Instagram and they'll just direct message you on there. So a good thing about these online marketplaces is that they really do serve as like a useful marketing tool, because even if like a person locates your product on there, there is a good chance that they'll do some Googling, if they're thinking of making a large purchase particularly, because at the very least they're going to want to find out more about you. I do that. If I've found a company on Etsy and I want to be spending £100 with them, I will Google them and see if they are, a real company that's not just set themselves up on there. I'll see if they've got a website. I'll press the about page. I'll have a look who they are, see their faces, read about them, what their sort of ethos is, and then I'll decide where to spend the money. And by that point, I'm sort of invested in the company, and I'll most likely, I will, because I know what it's like, I will go direct to the company itself and I'll purchase from them. So these online marketplaces, they can provide like a really good kind of marketing tool to get people direct to you. So they get you seen, and then the customer can come directly to you. So don't be scared off by the fees. They can be incorporated into your prices. And the exposure you're going to get a result of paying them can actually lead you to more business and returning customers outside of these platforms. Because even if they've purchased from you before on Etsy or wherever, and you've sent out their order and you've popped a business card in, whatever, they can come to you direct then because they've got your details. So these fees, they'll all be different for all of the online marketplaces. So it's definitely worth looking into this if you found somewhere that you want to sell. Just to give you an idea, Etsy's fees now, so they charge a few different fees, which I have listed all in the workbook. It says a breakdown of everything on the online course, so you know exactly how fees work, the different types of fees as well. But just to provide you an example now, Etsy's fees are 16 pence for each item that you list. So they have like a listing fee or renewal fee. So if one of your items has run out, say it didn't sell and it's expired, to renew it, it costs 16p, or to list a new one, it's 16p. And then they charge 6.5% per transaction. And then you have to pay a payment processing fee. So that is actually basically what the platform has to pay depending on whatever payment the customer chose, and they basically refer that cost to you. So you've got to pay the payment processing fee, and that's 4% plus 20 pence per transaction. And then on top of that, you do get VAT fees on online marketplaces, which they are just pence to be fair, but they do all tot up. So you have to accommodate all these fees. And it's worth noting that these fees that they charge also do apply to the postage costs, which is really annoying because they always think it costs what it costs to post an item, and it's been a real bugbear of mine since they started doing it, because we've got no control over the cost of posting an item. And especially if some of the online marketplaces fix their postage costs, like on the high street, they're fixed at certain amounts and you can't change it. So, it costs what it costs. It's £3.50 or whatever to send a parcel. And then they take a fee off that, a VAT fee off that. So you're not left with enough money to post the actual item. However, you will make that up on some sales and you'll lose on others. So it does balance out. Again, you can absorb some of these postage costs on certain platforms by setting them a little higher. On Etsy, I think you can set your own postage costs now, so that's fine. I can absorb some that way. Now, another fee that some people are afraid of, they have a massive shock when they see, and I've seen this on a forum actually, this lady put on about Etsy, how it's not worth having her items on there because she just got charged this massive fee of like 15% on top of the 6.5, blah, blah, blah. And what it was that they have this offline advertising fee, offsite advertising fee. And that's because Etsy advertises your items across the web, and it's through something that they call offsite ads. And it's something that you can opt out of. But basically, if your item sells through one of their offsite ads that they've promoted it on, you'll pay 15% fee when you make a sale. And you won't know, that's the thing, you don't know until it shows up on your statement. So you look at it, you think, whoa, what's that? Where's that fee coming from? Why are they taking another £3 off or whatever? You said you can opt out of it. I don't. I keep it on because I found that it's generated me more sales than without it. So yes, I'm paying a bigger fee, but I'm actually making more sales, especially on the higher priced items that I've got. Like I have these travel scrapbooks that are priced at like £35 plus. And when they sell on an offsite ad, obviously they take a bit more off me, but I just find that more of them are selling. So I think they're getting seen a lot more. So for me, it's worth it, but it might not be worth it for you, especially if your profit margins are low anyway. So you have to work out certain items it may be worth it for and some maybe not. So try it out. Again, I've got a whole section dedicated to this and fees and helping you price your work accordingly in the online course. So if you're unsure about, whether or not you want to sell on any platforms like Etsy, it will help you clarify this and help you pick the right platform for you. By looking at your target audience as well and see where it is that they're most likely to shop online. So like for me, my audience, they love Etsy, they love not on the high street, which is why I'm on there. For you, it might be eBay, it might be Amazon Handmade. I don't know much about Amazon Handmade, if I'm honest. I've not got any experience really with selling with either of these platforms in like a professional capacity. eBay I've sold personal things on, and I know that the fees have gone up, but I'm not 100% sure on what they are for businesses. But I do know people who've got massively successful businesses selling on eBay. So it depends on what it is that you're doing. However, I think most people who are probably listening to this and are launching a creative business, selling products, that you've created with your own hands, as opposed to like product supplies, which I think you get a lot of on eBay, don't you? I think they would agree that you need to be in front of people who value handmade and who are educated about it, and they're willing to pay higher prices for their worth. Because generally places like Etsy, not on the high street, they do cater for this kind of audience. People go seeking for something unique and handmade, and they're prepared to pay the price tag for it. I know that if it's somebody's birthday coming up in our family and I want something special, I'll head there first and I'll have a look what sort of personalised items I can get. And I know it's going to cost me more than it would do if I, nipped to the shop or wherever, or just went on Amazon. So I know that it's going to cost more, but that's not a bad thing because the audience that are on there are prepared to pay. So you need to do your research on the platforms that you're interested in and see if first and foremost they fit where your target audience will be hanging out. And if you're not sure where your target audience will be hanging out, you can go back a little bit and listen to episode 1 of this mini series on the podcast, and it's called Finding Your Tribe, and that will help you or talk through different ways of how to identify who your target audience is and where to find them. So you can always rewind back and have a listen to that just to refresh on it. And then really you need to start comparing the fees and all the associated costs of having a storefront on them. I know that not on the high street, they have an application process, which a lot of people struggle with because they can't get on it. And it's because really, obviously, they've got a screening process. They want to make sure that the products on there are high quality. They're going to represent their brand and what they're trying to achieve. But also they're going to monitor kind of how many of sort of what one industry or one product is on there. They don't want too many candles on there. They don't want, too many stationers on there. So they monitor it like that as well. But I think at the moment, they didn't have it when I joined. But I think they have a one-off joining fee of, I think it's £199 plus VAT. They don't charge for listing the products like Etsy, so that listing fee is gone. You can list as many times as you like and as much as you like, but their commission is quite high. It's very high, actually. It's 25% plus VAT on all sales, which is hefty, and it stings. But if you get popular on there, you won't care. So at Christmas time, just gone, I was averaging around 20 to 25 sales per day on there compared to my website, where I might have got maybe 20 sales at best over the course of maybe 2 to 3 months. So when you look at it this way, it was so worth it. You know, I was waking up, I was opening up my Not on the High Street sort of back end where I go in and do all my orders, and it was like, oh, 20 new orders received today. And it was like, fabulous, this is amazing. I know, and that's for Christmas time, it's busy. But generally, all year round, you know, when I'm open, I'm closed at the moment, but when I'm open, I normally get, I don't know, it could be anywhere between 2 and 5 orders a day on there. I normally get at least one a day on Not on the High Street. On a good day, like I say, it could be 5 or 10. So it is worth it. However, I do have my gripes with online marketplaces, and we're not always friends. You could just ask my husband last year. I was ranting about one of them for a long, long time. Drove him insane. And, you know, in an ideal world, I would like to be able to fly solo and just have my own website, probably like all of us, because we want to get all of the money from everything that we make, you know? We've made it with our hands. We want to just reap the rewards and the benefits. Because it's hard work, what we're making, it's not easy. And we don't want to give away a portion of our hard-earned cash to a stranger, to a corporate company. But I think we have to change our mindset on that and realise that, you know, it's all about they're doing the marketing for us, like I said earlier. So try not to get too down about it if you are considering it, and think of it as a marketing cost. So I know that having my website on its own, just on its own, would not work for me. It hasn't worked for me, which is why I joined some online platforms. And, you know, I just feel like it's something that you've got to really seriously consider, because you can put yourself off it. But if you want to get your stuff out there, you really need to think seriously about how to reach the masses, and they do have a way in to do that. So like I said, you know, I do have my gripes with them. I will tell you about one right now. When you have a store on an online marketplace, it's a bit like being an employee, really. You know, you don't get to make the rules, and you are at the mercy of someone else's decisions. And when you become self-employed, that can be quite hard to adjust to, because you've obviously got used to operating on your own and doing it your own way. And it can be really frustrating when there's a lot of red tape around your business, when this is not what you signed up for, to be self-employed. You know, you don't make the rules, like I say, and they can actually make or break you. Now, honestly, they've done both to me. They have obviously made me, because without them, I wouldn't have had my business or reached even maybe a tiny proportion of the people that I have through them. They've paid my mortgage. You know, they've put food on the table. They've allowed us to have days out and holidays. But they've also broke me many times, you know, and quite literally too. Like Etsy last year cut off my funds after it was the Royal Mail fiasco. So remember when Royal Mail last year went on strike, the year before now even? Oh my God, the delays in the mail just caused havoc for small businesses. And if you were operating at this time, you will know how difficult it was for us. And basically what happened to me was I was sending orders out, plenty of time for Christmas, October we're talking, beginning of November. And I was getting customers filing multiple claims against my shop on Etsy because their orders hadn't arrived. And Etsy was having to refund them, basically. It was possibly the most stressful time of my business, and Etsy just cut my funds off because they thought it was something on my end, even though they were fully aware of what was going on in the world with these delays and these strikes. And every seller within the UK was experiencing it. But they basically put a hold on my funds because they had all these orders to refund, and I must have looked dodgy. I don't know. But anyway, they cut it off. And they totally screwed with my cash flow to the point where we had no money, no consistent money coming in for 6 months, and we were struggling to pay the bills because this is my only source of income, along with not on the high street and my website, but this was my business is my only source of income. And we were struggling to get food on the table. It was hard with that interruption in the cash flow. It's so difficult as a small business because you haven't got a massive cash flow anyway, unless you're a really well established and things have worked out fabulously for you. It's hard. So that really shook my confidence. And last year I was ready to throw in the towel with Etsy and just say, no, I can't do this anymore. I don't want to be giving them control over my business and my finances. And I nearly came off it. But then I had a little break and we made friends again. I think they gave me a star seller badge for something. I forgave them. And yeah, I'm still on there at the moment. So that literally broke me. And then, there are the customers that you get on these platforms because they do tend to attract a certain type of consumer. Not stereotyping, but they're usually ones who just want everything yesterday. And they're really quick to complain, because you're hidden behind this bigger face of the platform of this corporate company. And they often forget that there's a person behind the small business that they're buying from. And you're not the actual corporate organisation that they're purchasing from. So sometimes they can be really sharp-tongued, a little demanding, or a lot demanding. So, I've had one before. The way they talk to you, they don't even address you as a name. Sometimes the consumers will be like, oh, hi, Joanne, just to let you know this hasn't arrived. It'll be more like, dear sir or madam, where is my order? This is disgusting. I've been waiting over a week for this. I will never order from your website again. Well, obviously, it's not my website. It's Etsy's or not on my high streets. So they see you as the face of that company. So that's the downside to obviously having an online store on them. And selling on these big players, then it's not for the faint-hearted. It's really not. And you do have to be prepared for the good, the bad, and the ugly, because you'll get a bit of all of them. And you have to kind of smile through it. You have to do a bit of people pleasing, cut through a bit of the corporate crap. You just have to do it. But don't let it put you off, because I think the benefits far outweigh the costs, literally too, and it's most definitely worth considering signing up just to try one out if you haven't already. So what if you're already on an online marketplace but it's doing nothing, or it just feels like a total waste of time? So you might be just kind of treading water with it. You might be getting one sale a month. You might be feeling like, oh God, this is not going to be a viable business. I can't get found. I can't get seen. So maybe it's just not right for your product. Or maybe you just need to implement a few new strategies to get it working for you. So a little bit of a makeover. And the truth is, on these marketplaces, competition is high. There are a lot of people on there now. But there are also things that you can do to stand out and give your product the best possible chance of being found. So let's talk about these things now. They're all mainly related to how you list your item. And there are a few things that you can definitely do and you need to do in order to get it seen. And the first and possibly the most important is to make sure you've got some amazing photos, because that is what people are using as their decision to buy your product. And you need to make sure that they're high quality, they're showing all angles, features, benefits, options available, everything. And to make it clear, you 100% do not need a fancy camera or a professional photographer to do this. You just don't. I never have. I've never done that. I've always used my phone. Phones now have got really decent cameras on them. They've got really decent settings. You can just Google it if you're not sure which settings to use. But I'll tell you one of my tips that I do. When I take a picture of a product, I don't know if I've got a Samsung, so it depends on what phone you've got, obviously. But I use a mode called food mode. So I go into my camera and there's a little option that says more, and there's some different settings, and I click food. And obviously my stuff isn't food, it's stationery. But what it seems to do is when I point my camera at it, it blurs out everything else in the background, and it really focuses on the image and on the product, So it makes it stand out. And I use that on all of my product listings. It looks so professional and everybody comments. They've always commented on my product photography, which is such a compliment. And I've never had a professional photographer involved in it or myself. So you just explore its settings to really make your product stand out. Another tip, use plain contrasting backgrounds to show the detail of your product. Don't put too many props in there. Sometimes you're tempted to throw a few flowers in there and whatever else might be going. It's nice to show your product in context, obviously, and how it's used. You can dot a few things around, but just don't completely overwhelm the picture because people won't know what they're buying and what they're looking at. So keep it really simple. Just 1 or 2 props at most because they're distracting. And I would say to crop images to a square so that they're suitable for use across most of the social media platforms, and they all look consistent as well. So if you've got a website, I think Etsy and On the High Street have their own image resolutions anyway. So when you upload them, it will automatically make your picture that size. But if it's on your own platform, your own website, try and keep all your images the same size. So I just select on my phone, crop to a square, or do it on my computer, and then I know that they're all going to be the same size and they're going to look really neat and tidy and consistent on the grid when people are searching them or they're coming up on my shop. And then label your images. So this is a really important one, what a lot of people don't know. So when you take a picture on your phone, say, you'll notice that the name of the image, it will say something like the date, .jpg. So what you need to do is go into that image, so into details, and there'll be one that says rename image, an option that says rename image. Go into that and rename it your product title, whatever that product is. So it could be rustic wedding invitation photo 1, something like that. Rename it so it includes the words of your product. And do that before you upload them to whatever platform that you're putting it on, whether it be a website or to the online marketplace listing. And what this does, it helps Google use this information to identify what's in the image. Because otherwise, how does it know? So if someone is searching in Google, I want some rustic wedding invitations, yours isn't going to come up if it's labelled with 2024, August, whatever, .jpg. It's not going to come up like that. So if you've labelled it rustic wedding invitation, then Google was more likely, or will pick up on it, that is an image that customer, that person may possibly want to see, and it will show it them. Now, I've never ever paid for anyone to take any photos of my products. Like I said, I've done them all myself. And the online course that I've designed, there's Creative SheCEO, has a section all about how to take the perfect product photo. It's just got some ideas to really help you sell your product. And keep in mind that your photos are all people have to see. They are the deciding factor as whether or not they want it. They're going to look at them and go, yeah, this is what I want, or no, it's not. And it's the deciding factor between making a purchase or not. So they've got to be right. So the next thing you can do to help your product stand out, you've got to write a killer product description. Okay, now this applies whether you're selling on an online marketplace like Etsy or your own website, and it also applies to service-based businesses. So depending on what it is that you offer, you have to make sure that you've got the right keywords in there and that, again, Google can pick up on it, but also that you've engaged your audience with a compelling description of your product and service. It's not only going to make them buy it, but it's going to keep them coming back for more and checking out your other offerings and staying on your website, browsing, looking at what else you're doing. The longer they stay on there, the more chance you've got of them falling in love with your stuff and buying. So it's keeping them on there. And your description of your product or your service, it is the key to success, because the words that make up this description, they are your sales pitch. And I say that also your way of getting seen on search engines like Google. Because if you write it correctly and you're using like proper keywords and you're doing the SEO work already. So SEO is a search engine optimization. And I've got a whole section in my course to help you write the perfect product description and tell you exactly how to do it, which I think you'll find invaluable. It's one, like I say, that I've used many times, a little formula that I use. It helps me include all the right information. Because once you've got the formula, you can apply it to all of your products and your services. And it just makes life so much easier, which is what we all want at the end of the day. Nobody wants, it puts me off. I know if I'm going to be listing a product, it totally puts me off if I have to start from scratch every single time and go, right, I've got to describe it, I've got to think of the keywords, it's tiring, and sometimes I just think I can't be bothered and I don't do it. So I've got myself this little formula now which really helps me write all about my product in the best possible way to help sell it and help get it seen as well on Google. And a really important thing to think about when you're thinking of titles for your products, you've really got to think about incorporating the keywords that people are going to be looking for when they want your product into the titles. So that is, the keywords are any words or phrases that might potentially be what your customer is typing into the search engine to find something similar to what you're offering. So I use an example in my course about my best-selling product, which is my cupcake toppers. I can't tell you how many of these I must have made in 14 years, honestly. We're probably in the hundreds of thousands by now. I don't know. I would love to know how many I've made. It's frightening. But the title of those on all of my online stores is I do wedding cupcake toppers. Now the keywords there are wedding and cupcake toppers. Now when you think of your titles, try to introduce what the product is. So like for me, I say it's a cupcake topper. I want that in the title because that's what people are naturally going to type in if they're looking for it first. They're looking for some cupcake toppers. They're going to pop that in Google. But also see if you can be a little bit more specific and include the occasion that it's for in your title description as well. So I've got wedding in my title because I know that that's where people will be using something that says I do on it. And that's the occasion that they're designed for. So that's why I've called them I do cupcake toppers. Cupcake toppers. Now, I can change this to birthday or anniversary or retirement or whatever the occasion is that the product is for. But if you can't incorporate it in your title, then you most definitely need to include the occasion in your product description because, again, people will be searching for what they want for the occasion that they want it for, if that makes sense. So it'll help you really drill down into getting seen and getting your product up there, highly ranking when people are searching those terms. So when I come to write a product description, I always write down as many keywords that I can think of relating to my product before I start writing a description. And I also ask other people, I ask friends and family what they would type in to find something similar. Sometimes I drive my husband mad because I can be sat there, he'll be on his game. And I've got my pad and I say to him, oh, can you just take your earphones out a minute? I just need to ask you something really important. And he's like, oh, what? And I go, another word would you use for cupcake toppers? And he just looks at me. He's like, I don't know. I have no idea. Obviously he's not my target audience. I probably shouldn't ask him. And he usually comes out with something completely irrelevant, which always makes me laugh. I just say, forget it. Anyway, but other terms people might search food flags. They might search, cake flags. Could be anything. So it's really good to ask other people what they would type in to find something similar because you'll be surprised what they would come up with because you think, I didn't think of that. Yeah, brilliant. And then write it down and include it either in your product description or in the product title. And on some platforms, well, most now, you can actually add tags that the customer doesn't see, but you can tag in those words. So if they search those, yours will come up as well. Try not to be too general either with your keywords to avoid them getting lost amongst all the competition for them. So you can be specific, but not too specific. It sounds contradictory, I know, but I'll give you an example. Wedding cupcake toppers is better than cupcake toppers. Personalised travel scrapbook is better than personalised scrapbook, because I'm using keywords that suggest who and what the product is for. So they've got a better chance of being discovered. Now, when you write your descriptions, whatever platform they're going on, you've got to let them tell a story. So people love to imagine how they would use a product because it helps them envisage what it would be like in their life. Now, you've got to remember online, people can't hold your product. They can't touch it. They can't feel it and fall in love with it like they do at a craft fair or in a shop. So you have to sell it to them with your words. I know when I go into a shop, especially if I'm buying something that, really excites my senses, like a soap or a hand cream, I won't buy those things online unless I've had them before and I know what they smell like. So you really have to sell it and draw people in with your description. Now, the thing is, a lot of these online platforms, they now have an analytics tool so that you can access this and you can see what terms people are actually using to search and find your product. It's really helpful. So if you discover one that keeps cropping up, you can always just adjust your product title or put it in the description. But there's a little section, especially on Etsy, that says analytics. You can click on it and you can see what words people use to search or to find your item when it came up. So there is a lot of benefits to these online marketplaces because they have these tools that we wouldn't otherwise have access to. So they are the benefits of being on these bigger sales platforms. The final thing that I just wanted to talk about today in the episode is the importance of customer feedback and reviews. So we all know how important they are in influencing a person's buying decision. But I think it's less well known that customer reviews actually help boost your ranking on search engines and make you more visible. So let's say you've got lots of positive reviews on somewhere like Etsy or Google, or maybe an independent review website like Trustpilot. And the more you can get, the more visible you'll become. And it's like a credibility thing. So it shows search engines like Google that you are authentic and you're popular and you're pretty damn good. You're getting 4 and 5 star reviews. You must be something worth shouting about. And it's like it goes, oh, this company is safe to recommend. Oh yes, and the person searching will be satisfied with my results if I show them that such a popular and highly rated business would be good for them. That's what I imagine Google would say if it was a real person, but you get what I mean. So reviews are important, and positive ones will boost your business. And negative ones, you're going to get them. Unfortunately, they happen. You can't please everybody. But they will help you. They improve and they'll help you develop a very thick skin, which you do need as an entrepreneur. So as long as you try and resolve any negative reviews quickly, they are unlikely to outweigh all the good ones that we get. So try not to let them bog you down. Say you're not going to please everybody. So try and brush them off. As long as you've done what you can do to help that person, then there's nothing else that you can do. It won't completely ruin your business. A lot of people get afraid that will happen. I've had a few in the past. It's never brought me down. So, plow on through them. There's plenty of good ones out there. There's an account actually on Instagram. It always makes me laugh. And she features something called 1 Star Wednesday. Every Wednesday, she puts people's 1-star reviews on there, like all different companies. You must search them out. I don't know how she does it, but she goes on there and she posts all these 1-star reviews that she finds, and it's so funny, and it really does highlight the actually truly moronic behaviour of some people. They don't realise the effect that their words are having on small businesses, but she makes light of it, and it's really funny. And a lot of people, most normal people, laugh it off and say, God, they were unreasonable. For example, a favourite one that I read once that she put on there, there's a 1-star review from someone who did not receive their order during the pandemic, and they actually wrote this to the seller. They put, the seller must have said, oh, I'm sorry about the delay. It's all because of the pandemic that's going on. I apologise. And this is what they wrote back. COVID is a hoax and an excuse. Where are my cards? Now, the seller actually replied to this customer and they put, well, if so, the post office is sure milking it. And it was just so funny because I thought, this is sometimes how you have to be with these people. You can't please them all. That's a ridiculous 1-star review. I mean, who's going to take that seriously? So don't worry about them. It's going to happen. But I thought it was a funny way to sum up today's episode. Let's talk a little bit about the takeaways from this episode so we know what it is that we've learned and what you can take away from it. So number 1, don't totally rule out selling on an online marketplace just because they charge fees. You can work them into your pricing strategy and you can get your work seen much quicker than on your own website or social media pages. Do your research to find out which one is suitable for you and your business, if any. Number 2, you're going to need killer images and a detailed product description containing the right keywords related to your product. Research them and ask friends and family what they would type in if they were looking for something similar. Number 3, you can use the built-in analytics tools on these platforms to figure out what these buyers are searching for and incorporate these words into your product titles and descriptions. And don't forget to change your image title to that of your product name before uploading them to your platform, because that's going to help your SEO. Number 4, make sure you get customers to leave you feedback and reviews. Ask them, because they won't do it otherwise. Not unless they're going to complain. They won't do it. So This will help you boost your rankings on search engines, and it'll increase your visibility, so you've got more chance of being discovered. So that's it. I hope it was a helpful episode. You've learned a few things about selling online. Maybe it's allayed some of your fears, you've been worried about, and you feel maybe a bit more confident about getting your work online. I hope so. That was my goal. It's really important to make sure that you have some form of online presence other than social media, because you can't rely on that for sales, and people need to know that you exist outside of Facebook and Instagram and so on. So you need a website, even if it's not an all singing, all dancing one. You can build them yourself now. And I go into this again on my online course, it's all in there. I go into the platforms that, the easy ones that you can use with no technical skills required. I've built 2 of mine myself. I'm really proud of them, both Vintage Tree and her Handmade Hustle. I have some things that, aren't perfect, but they're great. They're functionable, they're fast, they look professional, and they just cost me a monthly fee. So depending on what it is that you are using your website for, whether you just need it as like a shop front with actually not physically selling anything, maybe you just want to put your services on there so people can find you, that will be the cheapest option. Or if you want an e-commerce part to the website, which is a shop, then that obviously costs a bit more. I think on my websites cost $29.99 a month, I think. And that's average really for an e-commerce store. I think the first year you can actually get them half price, which is good, but it's not extortionate. And if you're making money from it, it's worth it. People need to see that you are a professional business by having a presence outside of social media. So as mentioned, if you want any further support at all, I've got a fabulous online course, accompanies this podcast series. It's got loads of information about everything we've talked about today, as well as previous weeks, with tasks to complete to help you get clearer, quicker. I share my own templates that you can use from my own business to help you, and just really get you moving. If you're feeling stuck, get you moving quicker and get you the results that you want. So next week's episode is the final episode of this startup series, the Creative SheCEO, and it's one that I am most excited about. It's called Beyond the Feed, and I'm really passionate about this. It's something that I've wanted to talk to everybody about for a long time, and it's all about offline advertising. That is taking you and your business beyond the feed, beyond the social media, and looking at all the other ways that you can get your business seen. It's taking control back, because a lot of people feel like the social media controls the fate and the destiny of their business, and when they're not getting the results they want on there, they feel disheartened that the business isn't going to work. And that is not true. The truth is, there is so much more that you have to do when you're starting a business that is way beyond social media, other things that you need to do to get you seen. And we're going to be talking all about what those things are and how to have a strong offline presence next week. So don't miss it. It's going to be great. It'll be back next Wednesday. So keep an eye out for that. If you can subscribe to the podcast, then you won't miss it. You'll get a notification when I've uploaded the episode. And rate and review this one if you can. I'd be so grateful. It all helps me reach more people out there and get them to get on board and learn about how to start and be successful with their own creative venture. So thank you for listening. I thoroughly enjoyed recording this one, and I will look forward to doing next week's. Bye.